Okay, this tutorial is for the plate. This one's in inches, and down here it says it's plain carbon steel. As I look at this, I see these lines of symmetry. Alright, so I could do a mirror here if I wanted to. I don't have to mirror everything. Like that circle would be easiest to be placed. Now something to keep in mind is like this radius here of this curve shares the same center point. Otherwise it would show a different center point. So this arc is coincident with, or co-radial, but coincident. They share the same center point. And the same thing down here. So this guy here shares the same center point, right? Or is the center point, right? And then these guys are, we can do a pattern, we can do a mirror. And then here's the offsets, 0.75, 0.75. Okay, so here's another concentric circle here. Heck, you could even do one on here as well. All right, but we're going to try it, see what we got here. Okay, so the first thing that I'd want to do is make sure I set up in carbon steel, make sure that I'm in inches. And then I'm going to, from the front plane, make a vertical line. And I'll use a center line because it's more of a construction line that I can mirror off of later. And then I'll put my circles in. I'll start with the bottom. It looks like a... Now when you put these circles in, it's giving you radius. We're going to chop these up later. So we're going to go 2.5 times 2. Hope I did that right. That was really large. And then this guy... I didn't put that in there. Let's make this 2.5 times 2. And we'll make this one the outside of those 4 little slots of 5. So 5 times 2. Right, and then we got another circle. And this guy's going to be, where'd you go? 6. Radius of 6, which means, now use the leader. I didn't do that in the last one. I'm going to go back and fix it. 6 times 2 is 12. These linear dimensions will get you messed up. If you're going to do an arc or a circle, use the leaders. That'll help determine what is what out there. It won't be as confusing. Okay? So then we got those placed out. I'm going to need to extend my center line up quite a bit, because what I'm going to do up here, that is 14. I can just click on this line. Oops. Do I need that line? I don't think I need it. I can just put it right on the origin. And then measure over my 14. And then that's where the center point for the 4-inch circle will be. And then I'll have a radius of 3, which means that'll be a 6-inch circle. Right, so don't get caught up in between trying to do diameters and radiuses. If it's a complete circle, it's a diameter. And then these are complete circles for now, but we are going to chop these up. So they'll eventually be radiuses. And this one will be a 3 times 2, 6. And then we'll have our... Oops. That's weird. There we go. Drew that up. Go back to sketch. I want to make some lines that are tangent. Alright, it did not go to that quadrant. It went tangent. And since those circles are fixed, my tangent lines should turn immediately black because they're fixed as well. Okay. And then we'll start up over here. So I do have a missing circle. I have a missing, let's see if I can pull this up. I need to put this 6.75. I'm going to start constructing this model here. Okay. And maybe I don't need to mirror. We'll take a look at that. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and That's an offset of 1.5, and that's a big circle around that center point at 6.75. So circle. You can go ahead and place it and move it later. 6.75 times 2. All right, now I can move that around. All right, so between here, this circle, and this circle, I'll start constructing this piece here. So this is the 3.75. Do I have that in there? I do not. 3.75. That's going to go here. 3.75. So there's a lot of circles I need to put in there. Oh, look at what I did there. That is wrong because that should be times 2. And I'll just hit escape to get out of all my commands. So this is where I'm going to be using this curve and this curve. I believe there's an offset of 1.5. Let me double check that. 1.5 offset. And then fillets. As we look at fillets, what is this fillet going to be here? Well, I don't see it identified. But down here I have a radius of a 1/2 inch typical, which means unless otherwise specified. Right? So here's some specified. That arc has a radius of 6.75, but this one is unidentified in the corner. So we're going to do fillets of 0.5. Right, and I can save that and do that later, or I can do that. I'll probably just do that in my sketch. So let's offset. So if you remember offset, I can take a line, I can put in a dimension, 1.5, then I can offset that one. And if it does that, what I usually end up doing is just doing one at a time. I'm sure there's probably a way to do that. But what I want to do is be able to reverse it. And if I have them both selected, it has problems. Alright, so now it's getting kind of messy. So now it's probably a good time to do some trim. Alright, so I'm going to trim this out of here. I'm going to trim this out of here. I'm going to trim that, and that, and that, because I'm looking for that corner. Alright, I'm going to get rid of that. That stays. This, I'm only keeping for this. I can get rid of that and that. And then I can trim this back, this back, this back. Because I would just want that corner, so I get rid of that. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. Okay? And then if I really want to, I could do all my fillets at once because there's 0.5 fillets down here, but I'm going to go ahead and just clean things up. Make a fillets of 0.5 so you can actually see it getting cleaned up. And the more I do, I don't know if mirror would be that much faster. All right, and again, I'm always trying to look for the fastest way of doing things. Okay, so that one's all trimmed out. Then I think what would make sense here is where I have these diameters, right? What I would do is take this out, delete it, then I would come back in with Smart Dimensions. See how it turned blue? And then make it the radius. So that way when you're checking your work, right, you want to see a 3.75. Okay? 3.75. Not a diameter, but a radius. And then down here I should see 6.75. Right, so the 6.75 is this guy. Right, so that can then just be deleted and then brought back in 6.75. That way when you're searching your sketch, you know, or if you did math wrong, it'll come up, it'll show it wrong. Right, and then we're going to go over to the drawing, and we got to put in these guys here. And they're just offsets at 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, right? So if I do need a horizontal line here. And what I'll do is I'll just put in a center point. And maybe I do need to extend that out. So that is locked on with one of the coincidents, so I can just make a new line. Something like this. It's construction. There's a construction line underneath this dimension line. So neither one of those are object lines. And then I'm going to do some offsets. So I can just do offset at 0.75 and bring that up. Actually, I could do a bidirectional. Call that good. I guess I could have kept going. I'm going to go offset 0.75 bidirectional there. Right, and then it's inside these pockets here. I'm going to leave these little 4 doodads here. So I'm going to do it's basically the same thing I did up here with the fillets. Alright, so I'm going to go trim that back, leave this, trim that, that, and that. Just a lot of trimming on this way. Nothing wrong with that. You gotta open that up. You gotta open that up. And then more trim. And it looks like we'll have to add some relations. Right, so then this is trim. Just where your power trim could probably be. I could just take the power trim and just run a line right down there, right there. I just don't use it as much, but I do know it's effective a lot of times. That got offset way up there, so we're going to have to... Oop, I didn't want to get rid of that center line. That's where it could be a little confusing, so I'll just stick with what I know so I can get in there and pinpoint. Well, at least you should understand what both of those do. That's trimmed, that's trimmed. All right. So, let's make sure that we have everything trimmed. There's one right there. Alright, so for these blue lines, what I'd like to do, that one doesn't even look horizontal. So what we want to do is make sure that this and this is 0.75 away from each other. Alright, so if that's horizontal, this has to be horizontal. And the same thing over here. This and this, 0.75. And we could make those collinear. That might help. Take this. Oops. Escape. Get out of that command. Control both of those. Make them collinear. That guy and that guy are collinear. We're fully defined. I haven't put my fillets in. 0.5. This is where we could have... Maybe a mirror would help out in here. I do want to show you guys circular patterns. If you're going to do a sprocket, a saw blade, Alright, so as I look at this, we got all 4 of those in there. We got this pocket here. We got this. It's plain carbon steel. Now all I need to do is extrude this. And the extrusion is 0.5. And that's our part. Hit Control 7. Alright, I'm going to check the mass properties. 17.29. Yikes. I guess that is steel. Still pretty heavy. Alright, I'm going to save it. I think it was 17.